and welcome back to the new Wilderness Podcast. That's right. It's not that name. Can we just... We forgot to change the name. We got to change that. Anyway, this is the How to Do Stuff, right? Yeah. How to do stuff in the Wilderness Podcast. We are back here with an all-new show, basically. We're kind of building this thing from the ground up. For those of you listeners who have tuned in before, you might remember some of our previous episodes, and maybe not so fondly, but rest assured that we have, kind of resolved a lot of those issues that were contributing to the declining quality of those episodes, and we've put all that behind us now. And so now we're kind of embarking on a new adventure. We've got this great new studio that we've been using. Our producer, Dan, has just been really generous throughout this process. And we've got all this new equipment that we're really excited to start using. And it's just going to be a great experience for everyone. I know that last week I had mentioned that I maybe was interested in pulling the plug on this show, but I've had a change of heart. I actually kind of had an epiphany. I got onto the airplane back to New York, and I just stood up and I said to everyone, no, my home is here, and I have to go back to this podcast, and I have returned, so this is kind of a nice moment for me to be back here and back with all of you. I'd like to welcome back a couple familiar faces that we've heard on the show here before. One of them is Calvin Hoffman.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm back. Happy to be back. Happy to share some more wilderness news and some more wilderness tips and tricks and survival isms for you all.
Yeah, and I'll give you a big update here. Is that Calvin is now the co-host of this program. So why don't we welcome him here. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I know some of you may know we've had some disagreements in the past, but over this past weekend I got to hang out with him a little bit and
had a really good time. So
yeah.
We kind of mended things, and we're excited to be back together working on this incredible show.
We really are. And everything is just going to be so much better. So if you haven't listened to our previous episodes, just don't, because they're trash. They're garbage. And we tried to get them off Spotify, but unfortunately we were told we couldn't. So I'm sorry about that. But just don't pay attention to those. They don't represent who we are. They don't represent our values. And I'd like to apologize to everyone who kind of had to go through that, especially to our producer, Dan, who, again, has just been so nice in setting us up with all this new equipment and doing all these things for us. Anyway, I'd also like to introduce our other guest this week, or our only guest this week, I guess, another familiar name. It is Clyde.
Hello, everyone. It is great to be back. So glad that everything is starting up once again, and glad that I was welcomed back onto the podcast with open arms after my seemingly decent enough performance in the last episode.
Yes.
So thank you for having me back again.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming back. It's great to have you, and it's great to have the voices of, some of the fans, actually, of this podcast. So we want to keep this, for the people. So we're bringing in Clyde, who really is representing your interests, I'd like to give one plug for our social media. You can follow us on our Instagram page, which is at it's called HowToDoStuff_podcast, I believe. Dan, if you could check that for me. Yeah, so please give us a follow there. It's really exciting. We're going to have a whole lot of behind-the-scenes content that you wouldn't get otherwise. So you're going to get exclusive access to that, as well as updates on all the new episodes and all of that. So we might as well get into it here. Our topic this week is going to be really, really exciting and really a wilderness essential. Our topic is, the topic is. Can I get a little help here, Dan?
Talking about survival tips, things like that.
Well, that's kind of the general thing. Okay. It looks like, self-defense. All right, self-defense in the wilderness. Self-defense in the wilderness. So we're going to be talking about how to defend yourself in the wilderness, which is really exciting.
Yeah, there's lots of dangers out in the great vast yonder, as it were, especially in all kinds of different situations and scenarios and locations. Staying safe and knowing how to kind of fight back and be the apex predator is kind of an essential skill to have if you plan on surviving. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much for that insight. That's really helpful to know. So, yeah, we're just going to be kind of discussing all of those. One thing that I'm always afraid of when I'm in the wilderness is that there's going to be a bear. Those things are pretty aggressive.
Bears are a huge inconvenience for you if you're trying to survive, especially in the areas that we are, which is kind of the north of the states, So
yeah, they are. They really are. And I mean, I personally haven't encountered one, but I know there's always that possibility. Clyde, have you ever ran into a bear?
Why, I have indeed. I have ran into, I believe, 2 bears. It was 3 if you count the cub as well, but 2 large bears that actually posed a threat. So those are the only considerable bears out there that I have encountered. It was quite a terrifying time, one could say.
I'm sure.
And I'd say that your fears are extremely valid in being terrified of these bears.
Wow, that's gives me the goosebumps just thinking about it and hearing that. Wow. Whew. I don't know if I ever want to go outside again. That's just a joke. I'm going to keep doing that and keep gaining knowledge so that I can do this podcast. But anyway, what are some, we could discuss, we could go on for hours about this, but let's talk about, let's start the discussion with bears. Mm-hmm. How can you, incapacitate a bear or escape from a situation in which you'd be attacked by a bear or something? How would you defend yourself?
Well, I think that I can talk about the defending myself. I did not stand down. I did not run away from these bears when they confronted me.
Brave man.
I approached it in 2 different ways with the situations that I was encountered with. The first one was by itself. So it was large, stood up on its hind legs, but I happened to have found a little bit of a weapon, a nice sharp stick that was able to stick right up into the bear's neck, and I believe that it severed the jugular, and that bear was down in mere seconds.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was a very long stick. You never want to get within any number of feet that is single digits of a bear. They will absolutely maul you. Do not do that. But unless you may do that if there's a cub involved. You see, the way that I dealt with the second bear, it was a duo, a cub and a mother, I believe. So I encountered the cub first, and if there's a cub around, there's guaranteed to be a mother. So the way to deal with that is to take the cub hostage. The mother is not going to confront you if you have the cub hostage. She is aware of what you're capable of. If you're able to trap her cub and you're holding a knife to its throat, she knows, and she will back off. She will go away, she will turn around, so then you can let go of the cub, and you can make a nice, calm escape from them.
Ooh, that's a lot of steps.
But that's 2 entirely different scenarios.
Yeah.
It's singular bear or mother and cub.
All right, so that's what you got to keep in mind. Single bear or mother and cub. And those are 2 completely different situations. So keep that in mind for sure.
What about like running away from them or trying to just get out of the situation?
I want to talk about. Well, we can talk about that, but first, what do you think? Is there like a particular spot like on a bear that you would if you had a sharp stick like that, how would you, even, it's so big, where would you start?
Well, so I think it was Clyde that just said, or kind of pointed out or whatever, that in his situation it was the jugular, and that just took it, right out. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
but
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't,
But I don't know
hear
if
you. I
that's,
just didn't hear him.
I don't know if that's kind of a general. I think going kind of.
Well, if we've
further-
already talked about, we can just move on. I just didn't realize that, that point
Oh,
had
yeah,
already
I
been
I see.
covered, but
Yeah, we'd. It's all right if you just kind of miss things from here and there. So
Yeah.
we'll just I guess
on.
move
well,
on.
it wasn't deliberate, I'm
No, of
always
course not.
listening here. That's kind of my job. But what about this? You talked about maybe running away from it.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, or maybe give some tips on running away. I was doing a little bit of research earlier today, and bears are just kind of wicked fast. I think I read on the internet or FaceSpace or something like that these bears, especially the black bears and the brown bears and the Kodiaks, they can, I think, get up to speeds of like 50 miles an hour if they're charging. So, and they can climb, I think, about as fast too.
Man.
So it's pretty like, how do you get away from that?
Yeah. And there's all these kinds of different colors too of the bears.
So many to
How do
keep
you?
track of.
Yeah, exactly. How do you confront these different varieties? I mean, are there?
It is
like,
a little
there,
overwhelming, I
like
think.
white bears or?
Well, some of them even are the ones that eat the bamboo. Those ones are both colors, which is
That's
just
true.
confusing. So I don't know if they're kind of a combination bear.
That is one way to describe them, I guess.
So
So could you outrun it, or what would you do?
um,
Guess you just take off running as fast as you can.
yeah, I mean, I can't run 50 miles an hour. So
50
I
miles
guess,
an hour?
I think so. I mean, that's the reading I read.
All right, well then you don't have a chance.
No.
So I guess if
no
you're,
one can run that fast.
I guess you kind of are forced then in that situation to kind of just confront the bear, and you probably don't have a too great of a chance on that. So
No.
unless you're Clyde here and are fortunate enough to get
Yeah.
the ideal weapon.
Well, and
for
thankfully
that.
we have Clyde's knowledge to help us through
yes, of
this,
course.
So, you do want to fight it. You want to stand your ground and not take the easy way out, because if you do that, it's essentially just lights out.
Yeah, I guess lights out is kind of a great way to describe it.
So there's our main tip for you is either fight or flee, or don't flee, because that's the end. So you got to fight, and that's our self-defense. But we got to move on, actually, because we have an important kind of sponsorship thing to deal with. So this is we're going to be doing this every week. This is called our potential ads. Because they're for corporations or companies that haven't actually given us the sponsorship yet, but that we're kind of closing in on a deal with, and so we're just kind of wanting to promote them to get that relationship really started, and kind of grow those connections. So for this week, we're going to be asking for a sponsorship from Apple, who, as we all know, is the maker of many great products. So our unsponsored sponsorship this week is by Apple Incorporated, creator of the Mac computer and the iPhone product line. Apple has been around for some time and has built itself up to be a reputable company, some may say. Apple Incorporated specializes in creating fancy new gadgets such as phones, tablets, computers, and much more, all of which you can purchase and own. The corporate headquarters are in Cupertino, California. So we may have to go give them a visit and talk to the man, Steve Jobs himself. As we all know, Steve Jobs is the CEO of Apple. Also, as of September 2020, the company reported that it employs approximately 147,000 people full-time. So they contribute a good amount to the economy, which is all the more reason that you should give them your business. We tried to email Mr. Steve Jobs about this sponsorship, but unfortunately we have not received a reply yet. But we have a reliable source that says they may be able to get us a quick talk with him in the near future, so we'll hopefully be able to report good things by our next episode. Mr. Jobs, please respond to us. This is, we're talking to you directly. This is really a heartfelt plea. Help support us because we're out here, doing a lot of great things. And we know that you would be proud. So please step up to the plate. We don't have a promo code at this moment, but as soon as we get that response from Mr. Jobs, we'll sure that we'll be able to get something arranged for you. So thanks for listening, and now we're back to learning about stuff you can do in the wilderness.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks to
Sorry, I just caught a cold on the plane.
As I was saying twice now, actually this is the third time I suppose, but thanks to Apple, I guess, in the future for sponsoring us. And yeah, so we actually have a new segment on the show that I will be, taking lead on. So this new segment will be titled Wilderness Updates. So it's going to be kind of a news, kind of a gossipy little segment where we talk about the latest and greatest in the wilderness scene. So this week's my kind of topic or my news is that Bear Grylls, everyone's favorite, as we all know.
That's kind of funny. We were just talking about bears, so.
Yeah, that's a great segue. Yes, so Bear Grylls, everyone's favorite. He, as we all know, he is absolutely shredded, and many of us have been wondering, how do you get that body, that physique, from just going out in the wilderness and punching logs and bears and doing all this kind of stuff. Well, he actually released his full military style workout.
Wow.
So this is some big stuff. So all of us that have been, I know for myself, I've been trying to kind of get to that level just by going out and doing the practices of the wilderness and things like that, and just haven't gotten there. So now I can follow this pretty intense workout and get to that same, kind of up my wilderness game. So this is available. We can put it in the show notes or something like that.
Yeah, we'll put it on social media maybe.
Yeah, so this is just some pretty insane stuff out here. So that's kind of what I've got. Some pretty sweet stuff. So I was thinking, with this segment, we can kind of just go round robin and kind of see what everybody has brought for news.
So, like wilderness news?
Yeah, some wilderness updates.
Oh.
So Sam, what do you got this week?
I guess I didn't know that we were gonna do the segment like this. So I guess I wasn't exactly prepared for it. I don't have any notes here. I think you probably could have elaborated to Dan, because that's kind of what he's here for, is to, be that middleman for our communication and everything.
Yeah, and I never even really got any information regarding this episode from either of you, or Dan. So,
well, you're the guest, so you just kind of have to be ready for that spontaneity.
Yeah, that is true. My bad.
All right.
I guess. Well, I do. I think one of my cousins, or my second cousin or something, and her mom went on a camping trip up north near the Canadian border. And from what I heard, it was a success. So that's kind of a big piece of wilderness news, I guess. Anyone can do it, basically. That's the takeaway, I guess.
Great.
From that.
All right. Well, that's all I have for the segment. So that's, I guess, the close of the first of many, hopefully, wilderness updates.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty much it for the show as well. And not the show as a whole, unit, but we don't want to have that miscommunication again. Just this episode. There will be many more. There's a bright future and many things in store. So we hope that you'll keep tuning in week after week. This episode, I think we had a really constructive conversation about self-defense and about different kinds of bears. We had the bears in the wild, and then the other Bear Grylls, who is also in the wild, actually, just a different, a human bear, which is kind of funny if you think about it.
For sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's pretty funny. The listeners think I'm sure they'll have many positive comments. But
All
yes,
right.
please give us a follow on our social media, Instagram, howtodostuff_podcast for exclusive content, and come back next week for more great things from the crew here.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
Yep. All right. Bye.